First of all, this is a guide intended for the people that started playing the game a few months ago and don't have many OP or build characters and are struggling with Shiro Kuro, either insane or any lower difficulty. The idea is to help those people understand the builds better and help them create a comp around the characters they have without losing hair. Hello guys, I'm Hazuki and I've started playing Blue Archive at the beginning of July. This is also my first time I'm able to beat insane difficulty, and it took me a lot of trial and error and help from my lovely viewers. Again, like I said, this guide is intended for people new to the game with not many characters or not really built, because I couldn't find myself guides of people not throwing the meta comp and just blasting the boss in 50 seconds, ignoring all mechanics, which is something new people like me can't really do. So let's start with the mechanics. The boss basic attacks are these snowballs he throws randomly at your characters and deal damage in a small area. Nothing really crazy to worry about unless you're doing insane, so you should know the boss does piercing damage, so your yellow armored students will take more damage and may die from that. For example, Dress Aru. Another mechanic, he will cast a set of mines at your character feet. These are random and it does a good amount of damage, and it's probably lethal for non-built characters. This also applies a slowing debuff for your character. At last, Shiro will cast 2 rolling balls on 2 lanes in insane and 1 in other difficulties. They will do massive damage to your characters and they will always be casted in the same pattern. First set, lane 1 and 2, second, lanes 1 and 3, and lastly, lanes 2 and 3. However, if you reach the third set of balls, you'll most likely gonna need 3 parties to be able to clear, and therefore, you will need 3 reposition characters in total. We will talk about the reposition characters later. For Kuro, she casts the Feather debuff, which applies a slow and deals damage to the closest character. This also makes that character take lethal damage from the charge if she has this debuff. You can dodge them with a reposition ability, block them with cover, and they also get destroyed after hitting a target. You can also make Kuro hit herself with this ability by dodging the one that goes into one of her feet, doing damage and applying a 50% damage increase debuff. Let's go with the tactics. About the reposition, on Shiro, for the mines, we will use a reposition character to move away from this. Keep in mind, he does this 2 times before sending the rolling balls, so you need to cycle a few skills between each reposition to be able to cast that again after the first set, and you may not have enough cost to make a full damage rotation in between. For this, Yuka Track, Summer Amy and Swimsuit Shizuko are really good choices. There are also other choices like Mimori and Kotori. I didn't try Kotori myself, and in the case of Mimori, keep in mind that she has a very limited range and the skill itself takes a lot of time to make your characters move, so it's really hard to use. And it's even harder if you choose not to take a character with cover. If you don't have Swimsuit Shizuko, you can get her for free at her event. Keep in mind, you get her at the end of the event, and I think you have to use some AP to clear it, if I recall correctly. For Kuro, you will also need a reposition character to dodge the charge mechanic, but we will probably or mostly just ignore this for the sake of saving the cost. If you are trying to dodge every single one of these, you will be using all your cost to dodge and not to do damage. You can play around with this, but I tried letting all my characters die except for the one I borrowed, which is the one that's gonna do the most damage anyways. This character probably can even tank some hits without problem. Also keep in mind, if you're doing insane, this student will probably die if she gets hit while she's affected by the Feather Curse. I already explained how important it is to dodge the projectile that's going directly at Kuro's feet, because she will get the 50% damage increase debuff. About the cover, for Shiro, you can choose not to take a cover character if you have the damage to kill Shiro before the second set of rolling bombs. To do so, the only thing you have to do is use your reposition character to the bottom lane, as it is the first one to be safe. However, depending on your reposition character and the mine's RNG, This can be really stressing to do, especially if you're using Mimori. So I'd recommend instead just to bring one reposition and one cover character. The reason we take the cover character is to be able to block one or even two of the rolling balls Shiro throws at us. This applies Shiro a debuff that increases damage taken by 50%. After every second set of mines, he will always cast the rolling balls, and you can use the cover to throw them back at him by placing the cover in one or in the middle of two lanes to return both. If you choose to use Shizuko, she needs to have 50k HP at least on the cover, so the cover itself doesn't break from the rolling ball damage. I don't really recommend trying to return both, because first, you don't really need to do that, and second, it forces you on upgrading your Shizuko, so her cover now has 30k HP instead. To check if your Shizuko's cover will be useful, you can come here, search for Shizuko. Here you can select how many stars you have her at, and the item tier, and then you go here and select the cover instead, and here you have to activate her skill, and then you have to select what level do you have it at. And this is the HP of your cover. You need to have at least 15k to return one ball and 30k to return both. Another character you can use for the cover is Battle Hoshino. She can return the balls with her shield. The only thing you have to do is move her to the side, and then she will reposition in the middle of the two lanes, returning both rolling balls at Shiro. The only thing about this is that I'm not really sure if you have to invest on Hoshino to be able to do this, because I don't have Hoshino myself. And lastly, for Kuro, if you took a character with cover, you can also use it to block one of the projectiles. If you use more than one party and you start on the second one, you may just bring a reposition character and not take a cover student at all. Let's talk about the borrowing characters you can use. First of all, I recommend just picking DPS characters. Don't even bother taking supports or tanks at all, unless you have a really good invested DPS pretty much maxed out, which is probably not the case if you're struggling with Insane. For yellow, I recommend just going with Mika, which has great damage and a lot of HP. For purple, I recommend Nozomi, who is also great and has a lot of damage. And lastly, for blue, what I used is Wakamo. I really had problems using Shiroko Terror as I didn't have any good buffers for her, so I swapped to Wakamo instead. The other characters you need in your party are the cover character, the reposition character, and buffers and debuffers. Buffers for your borrow DPS and debuffers for the boss. This can vary a lot depending on what characters you have. That can be Dress Aru, Harekam, Himari, New Year Hookah, Ako, Hikari, any really good buffer for your DPS. For the buffers, if you don't have enough or different buffers, you can also bring debuffers, which can be Akane, which has a really good defense debuff at a 2 cost. You can bring Cherino, who has cost recovery and also has crit resistant reduction. You could take Swimsuit Hanako or Maki because of their basic skill, which is a defense debuff. If you don't have friends or any good club, you can use this page to search any assistant you want. The original page is in Chinese, but you can use a translator. In the first selector on the left, you have to select your server. The second selector on the left is for the raid type. In this case, you want the one translated as Total Fight, which is the first one. After that, you click on Select Students and you select the student you want. The student grade is the level, and you will want to select a maxed out character. And here, instead of going with 50, just go with 49. As you can see, after clicking here, you can see a lot of people with the assist you are looking for. After this, the only thing left is to copy the ID and add him in game. Although sometimes you will have to wait for people to accept your friend request, many people have the auto accept on. Thank you so much Adinami for recommending me this page. This saved my life. Since the video is already long, I'm gonna leave a link to my insane clears on the global server and also to my extreme Japanese server clears, which is a level 52 account. But these are the comps I use for insane. Thank you so much for watching. This took me like 15 hours of editing, so if you find it helpful, just let me know it was worth it. Thank you, feed lovers. Thank you.